Hey guys, it's Bradley. Welcome back to my channel, The Portly Gentleman. In today's video, I'm doing a beginner's tutorial of pretty much going to cover the B80, the B40, and the B150. They're all going to operate similarly. There will be some random differences. I won't go into that at this time, but kind of go through a full brew day. I'm brewing my American Noble Kölsch. Probably not really a Kölsch, but in the spirit of a Kölsch. So that's kind of in throughout this video as well. It's a nice long video. There's lots of detail in here. I think that if you're new to the system, is really going to help you. If you guys are an old pro like me, just smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed because it really helps me out. Understand why you wouldn't want to watch this one, but it might be interesting. Rumor is there's a boil over in here somewhere towards the end, so that might be great. Might be really cool to see. So we're going to get right into the brew grade, right into me dropping the malt pipe in. All right, let's get to it. All right, so once you are at temperature, first thing, drop in the malt pipe. Just like so. Grab your screen, drop that guy in. Then you will take your lubed center pipe. Make sure you lube the O-ring inside of here, or the seal we'll call it. A little lube on the shaft here is probably a good idea. Slide that guy on. Super positive engagement there. When I get the rest of the seals on, a little lube is going to help there. Next is your mash hat itself. Make sure everything is thoroughly lubed. And that's going to affix very firmly to the top of the vessel. You could additionally not put it on and cover it, but I found this way saves a little bit of time and is more convenient. You'll start to dough in. A good grain crush is 1.2 millimeters. You can go a little bit bigger, a little finer. You're going to start to have issues. My crush today is a little fine, to be honest, and I am asking for trouble, but that's how I roll. So remember to try and distribute all the grain evenly. Might be a good idea to kind of stop halfway through and give it a good stir. In my opinion, it's not like a grain father. You don't need to stir continuously. Just especially a B80, this is going to be a 10-gallon batch. So I'm not at capacity. If you're doing a full capacity batch, it's probably advisable to stir more often. But because I'm not, I wouldn't recommend it. Start to go. Mind you, this whole time, I have the valve set to circulate around the malt pipe. I didn't put the malt pipe in until I was at even temperature, and that just kind of helps everything even out. So real quick, we'll kind of go over the valve configuration for mashing. As you can see right now, I have this other control for this 3-way valve facing straight down, so that's causing that wart to bypass the center pipe, which you can see right there, and it's just flowing around the mash tun for my 20-minute mash roast, which I started now. Today I'm brewing in manual mode just because it's easier for my purposes. Today I have the pump set to 100 going around the outside of the kettle. That's pretty optional. You guys can set that pretty much wherever you like, to be honest. But I found this was what works out best for me. And then you'll see the side valve here is facing straight out that way to the right port. That means it's going through the pump. Over here is where my setup is going to vastly differ from most other ones. with 4 valves in play here. So the wort is discharging through here, hitting this valve, going straight this way. This valve's also the handle facing this port, coming up into this port with this handle facing this way. And that's, you know, coming through that Whirlpool dip tube. The chiller is attached, but I've not put any liquid in it yet because I wanted to, just easier to figure out my volumes this way, kind of know what's going on. So real quick, one more time, wort comes this way into this valve, this handle facing that flange. This handle facing that flange means both those valves open together, up through my bypass, directly into this valve, handle facing the flange this way, and into the Whirlpool. Literally is that simple, guys. It's, at first it may seem a bit daunting, but it's super straightforward. I just hit the 20-minute mash rest, and I'm using these American Noble hops today. Never used them, got them from Yakima Chief, and these things just, I mean, they just, they smell amazing. I mean, they just smell really good, damn. Anyways, back to the brewing. Mash rest complete. It's actually a pretty thin mash. I kind of wish Brewfather had a little bit better way to kind of identify profiles. I would appreciate that. So, first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn the pump way down. Then I'm gonna come over here to the side of the vessel here. And I'm gonna move this, right now it's at 6 o'clock, this lower valve. I'm gonna move that somewhere to up until I start to get some flow. You guys saw just how little I moved that. There's the flow I've got out of my recirculation. That's what you should do. I wouldn't let it go gangbusters. You go too buck wild, you're really risking some oxidation, I think. That's why I typically kind of use other methods, but for the purpose of this kind of beginner's tutorial, this is what you're looking for, just a nice, easy flow. I'm gonna go ahead and start my timer. We're brewing today full manual for the purposes of the video. So there's recirculation. I haven't messed with any other valves. I just simply turn that other valve. It's probably right now, if you consider the clock, about 4:30, I don't know, facing 4 or 5 on the clock. We're not gonna get to telling times. I don't wear a watch, it's embarrassing. All right guys, it's Bradley breaking into my own video. If you guys have made it this far, please consider subscribing, I'd really appreciate it. All right, back to the tutorial. As you can see, we're just barely trickling right now. I have the pump at 100%. You can see right there. What I'm doing though is I'm flowing around the malt pipe. I'm really just recirculating very gently. My own personal opinion is I don't want to introduce a lot of oxygen unnecessarily into the wort at this time. So that's it, just simple, easy. We'll do this for an hour. The mash will definitely kind of change how it acts about halfway through to, 3/4 of the way. We'll check back in then. All right, just at mash out, I just simply manually put the controller to 167. We'll mash out 10 minutes. Once we hit target temp, it's kind of settled down. The wort's starting to clear up. At mash out, it's going to clear up a lot more. Not as much grain as I thought I would have in the vessel with my really fine crush, to be honest. Don't recommend it because more often than not, it will bite you in the ass. All right, so we are mashed out, or pert nearly mashed out. Hot liquor tank is connected. My setup, I have to pull my whole brew table out and hook to a hoist to lift the basket. It makes it a lot easier. So I bumped up the flow a little bit on mash out. You probably can, I don't know if that's coming through, but it's super light, super crystal clear. This American Noble Kölsch, at least the wort's looking beautifully clear. It's blowing my mind at the moment. Most of the particulate seems to be filtered through the grain bed. So in a moment, we will lift the grain basket. I'll go over the valve position for sparging. All right, so we're going to lift the malt pipe. So we're going to kill the heating element, because if you don't do that, you will have issues. Back the pump off. Make sure I'm pulling straight, which is important. We're going to make sure that this valve here is still off, right? We're going to open the hot liquor tank. Mine's simply a ball valve. Whatever you have is going to differ. So the pump's off. We're going to put this valve to full up current. So there's a picture that kind of indicates it on there. That's the position. So next, we're going to open this valve so that it bypasses the intake, because otherwise we're going to put fresh water into the intake. That would be bad. So we'll just flick that guy open. Let it prime, which it is. I'll come over here to the front of the B80, B40, B150, whatever it is. I usually run the pump on high first. It's a little high. I'm making a mess, taking a shower. Turn it down, and we are sparging away. I will usually monitor the flow rate. I don't want to get a ton of liquid on top of that grain bed, so I'll modulate the sparge. Sometimes I'll give this guy a spin. Kind of make sure I'm sharing the love, rinsing all those very desirable sugars off the grain bed. We're going to cycle the pump on, push a little more water through. In my American Kölsch recipe, there's actually a decent amount of corn, and it has some white wheat as well. So that's kind of causing things to get a little sticky on the mash. This guy's sparging a little slow, plus my very fine crush. But as long as you have your valve set like this, nothing's going to go wrong. So now I'll typically kick the elements back on. And I'll go to auto just because I want to do a few things and I don't want this to boil over, because that can happen. 194 is the highest temperature available on auto based on just water boils at different temperatures at different elevations. So that's why that's the limit on the profile. So I'll put it on auto. 194, go about the rest of my stuff here, get stuff cleaned up, tidied up, hops laid out, all that, and then watch it come to a boil when I'm good and ready. My cat back on here for safety, because you never know when you might have boiling hot wort flying around the brewery. Pick the malt pipe up a tiny bit. I'm about at the volume I need. Dangle here for a moment. It makes it a little bit easier for me to see the gradation on the volumes within the vessel. All right, so we are done draining. I'm close enough to where I want to be volume-wise to call this one good. So down here is my solution. I just use one of these cement tubs. It works good for me. I can set a lot of stuff in it that I want to clean and then just clean it easily. I don't have the luxury of like a prep sink or anything in here. So it's kind of an interesting shuffle. We'll see if we can catch it, but basically my hoist is up here in the rafters in the garage. So that's what everything's hooked to. The hoist is great. but sliding the table back and maneuvering this under it is challenging. About to boil, about 206 degrees indicated. So I'm gonna get a little stir and stir the protein in. All right, there is one thing I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna use a Trub Trapper. I don't even think these are available anymore. I got this guy used, that's why I got a small one. It works really well. Have no fear, I know for a fact that Brewtools is designing something specifically built for the system. So if you guys hold your horses, unless you could find one of these used for like 20 bucks on Craigslist like me, definitely wait. Support the guys. They're having to buy the silicone, all the tooling and stuff to get this guy made. I'm sure it'll be out soon, but just relax, have a home brew. You'll 211. Really start stirring so we don't boil over. That's what a nice roll and boil looks like. Nothing like 6 kilowatts of heating power at your disposal. My hood, it's taken the steam. It's a 36-inch Nexer range hood, 1,000 CFMs on high. It's on high, and it barely keeps up anymore, and I don't think we'll be catching all the steam. So my advice, get the steam condenser. At the time when I did my setup, it wasn't available. It's probably a much easier option. Just hook up a couple hoses and get a bucket, basically. You don't have to plumb in anything fancy or run electrical or anything like that. My first hop addition, so there's just a tiny bit of Citra going in. Then we're going to turn the power down to about 40%. Now that we have the power down to 40%, we're going to drop in the Trub Trapper. So we don't forget, I forgot before, it kind of sucks. Put the steam hat on. All right, so it's time for the 30-minute addition. Cascade and Citra. This is the American Noble hops from Yakima Chief. I was really blown away. Never used these before. They smell really good. I don't quite know what I expected from them, but they smell amazing. I don't know what I thought I was gonna get. I do a lot of kind of lagery beers myself, but these are like the byproduct. They make their cryo hops. They're like super concentrated and something else, and they have these as a leftover. So they're not the same color as regular hops. They don't smell quite the same, but they smell good. I mean, I see why they call them an American Noble hop. It's got more of that kind of German hoppiness, but with some of those more American bolder type hops. So I'm very interested to see how these play out in the beer. This isn't part of the kind of beginner's tutorial, but this is just me working through my hobby. I have no idea what I'm doing with these. Well, I have an idea, but I'm sure it'll be delicious. I wish I could share this American Noble Kölsch with everyone, but I can't because I don't have enough, and postage would kill me. But anyhow, we have a few minutes. We have a 10-minute edition. Then we have like a Whirlpool hop. I'm gonna do like 170. Then we'll chill, and it'll be great. Mosaic, sorry about the focus. And then 3 ounces of the Simcoe blend. It's odd, you know, you use so much of this stuff, it's almost like an IPA's hop amounts, but not what we're doing. So here we go. "10-minute edition done." I'm gonna probably now is a good time to talk about the chiller. I actually just filled mine up off camera. I forgot I was doing a tutorial. But I opened this valve in this position. When it's facing straight like this, it's fully open. So I'll go through the bypass, which doesn't matter. It'll come here through my chiller and around, flip the valve on the chiller side there so that it's pushing wort through that dip tube. And then about this time, I'll usually, bump the chiller, fill it up a few times with boiling hot wort, just for a few seconds, and then turn it off just to make sure that it's hot and sanitized and everything's clean. And it doesn't really take away from the boil at all too much when I do that. All right, we just hit the end of the boil. About to kill the heat. Probably turn down the vent as well. So we'll take a little look inside of here. That's a buttload of hops because these guys don't have the alpha acid. So anyways, now I'm just going to bypass. You can see in this configuration right now, I have this bottom valve fans facing to its left, going into this valve, which is fully open because I'm wanting to heat up the return off just on the side here to kind of sanitize it. But we're going up through my bypass into the Whirlpool. I have the Whirlpool adjusted with my adjustable dip tube just the way I like to see it. Right now I'm just trying to kind of speedily get down to my Whirlpool hop. I'm not recirculating any cold water through the chiller yet, so let it drop on its own naturally. And this beginner's tutorial wouldn't be complete without a boil over. So make sure when you think you're turning the pump on that you're not actually turning the heating elements on. That's what I did, stepped away with the steam hat still on and boiled over. So I have quite the mess to clean up. This stuff does happen, especially to me lately. But anyhow, it'll still be great. At least another hour till my cleanup, fully disassemble and strip down. Sounds like fun. The steam hat's just over here. Here's the steam hat. It's absolutely destroyed. Even a boil over is not going to stop me. So I'm at my 170 hop stand temperature. So we can go even more hops. So now I'm starting the Whirlpool process. Right now we're going through the chiller. You see I'm whirlpooling at about 100%. I'm going to turn down the pump now to about 75%. And I'm going to let that go for around 10 minutes, no more probably, and cool this wort down. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes, and now I'm turning the pump down to somewhere around 40%. Stepping that down. This step, I won't let it run at this pace very long. Just trying to get everything to settle out. It's a real mess of hops in here. It's been just a few short minutes whirlpooling somewhere 35% or so. Now I'm going to go to my final kind of step, and I'll usually transfer at this pump speed. I'm going to take it down to 20. And see, it's just barely turning. Let that roll for a few more minutes. All right, as you can see, the Whirlpool is in its final stage. We are transferring into the unitank. Got plenty of nice, delicious wort going in there. Most of it survived the boil over. A little bit of a boil over mess to clean up, but these things happen when you're making YouTube videos for sure. Here's the yeast I'm pitching. Imperial Dieter. I guess it's their Kölsch strain. I've never tried it, but super thrilled with all of the Imperial yeast. So this one probably no different. Let you guys see real quick inside what we're working with. It all dropped out. Not quite showing up on camera, but it is absolutely clear. All right, guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I know I promised a boil over. I actually didn't catch it on camera. It really sucks. The boil over was actually pretty easy to clean up. It took me about another 20 minutes of additional cleaning. So if you guys really enjoyed my content, you got some value here, please subscribe. The channel's grown a lot. I've got a lot of help from a friend on pointers and stuff to make it better. I've worked really hard in this video. Not that means you should subscribe because of that, but I would appreciate it. If you guys want to see more content, definitely stay tuned. More Brewtools content for sure. Unitank content for sure definitely is going to come. I know there's some new Brewtools goodies that should be arriving pretty soon in the Brewtools shop, so maybe we'll get to see those as soon as I could go ahead and buy them or something. So remember, home brewing is good, and I'll see you very, very soon. Take care.